I'm here at a National XC race today in Bradford, and this is the bike I would like to be riding, but this is the bike I will actually be riding. Now, it was at the forefront of XC tech 23 years ago, but will it still keep up with the bikes of today? Let's find out. So I'm here at Tong in Bradford, which is unofficially labelled the gnarliest course on the National XC circuit here in the UK. And most people will be opting for their full suspension XC bikes today. Now, this is my Canyon Lux LT. It's actually the long travel version of what you will see the World Cup riders racing on. It's 115 in the rear, 120 up the front, and that's not that uncommon these days. However, I will be riding on this, a giant MCM Team Carbon with a whopping 100 mils of suspension only in the front and 26-inch wheels. Now, I will go into more detail about the differences and how tech has changed over the 23 years that these two span apart. But first, let's go and practice the course on both these bikes and see how bad it really is. Right, it's practice time. I've got my number board on. I've got my Camelback Chase race vest on because the bottle bosses have actually walked out of this carbon frame. It's so old. But let's get practice on. Let's go. Yeah. Oh. Oh, that's so much easier. Oh my God, this bike is so light. I've forgotten how light it is. There is zero tread on these gravel tyres. Oh, ha! Oh, 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 I'm running out of grip. Ah, she's touching down. Oh, it's all gone 2000s. So ideally you want to jump this as a drop off, but if you were going slow, you couldn't really roll it on my bike. Small wheels, big chain rings were the issue back then. Now we've got like bigger wheels, higher bottom brackets and smaller chain rings. So it kind of makes things easier in this sense, but I might just do this in the race. Yeah, this A and B line, actually I've just rolled up to it on this bike and I'm genuinely scared because I feel like my small wheels are going to get caught in the logs. Look, 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 look. It would be easy on a 29er, but I'm scared. Look, look. Oh. Let's try it on the big bike. But I'm not doing that on a 26er without a dropper. I mean, it looks quite spicy. There's a big old G out at the bottom here, and I do not want 26-inch wheels in there. I'm not even sure if I'd ride it on my 29er, if I'm totally honest. This is why Tong is the gnarliest round in the National XC race. Just checking out the middle of this A line because it looks all right at the start, but you need to pick a line because it can get a little bit wild if you're on the wrong one down here. So most people are going left because it's quite smooth, but the middle, yeah, that's what you don't want to happen, is to sort of stop on it. I don't know if I want to do this on my hardtail. He just did it on a hardtail. When I said I didn't want to do it on hardtail, he's just done it on a hardtail now. Oh, you pick up some speed. Like if you get the line right, you actually pick up too much speed, which is crazy. Look at this kid. That junior just put me to shame. He had a hardtail and no dropper. Oh. Yeah, I don't want to do that on a hardtail. Well, it's not even that it's a hardtail, it's just no dropper, chain rings in the way. Nah. Yeah, I like dropper posts. And actually, I thought I'd miss the dropper post the most. The thing I miss the most is big fat tires that can just sort of like grab around roots and like give you a little bit of damping as well. That's the thing I miss the most. But anyway, that's practice over and done with. Let me give you a little tech comparison between 2001 and 2024. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now, this is one of the earlier carbon frames in the XC market. I was still actually racing on aluminium until the mid-2000s. Now, there would have been very little consideration to lightweight or unidirectional weaves in order to give compliance, like, for example, on the Canyon Lux. And also, you can see that the technology wasn't quite there when it comes to things like dropouts, as this is still aluminium. This is also one of the earlier models to have disc brakes on it. You can see that the forks still have V-brake mounts here, a nod to how split the industry still was back in the early 2000s. And I've got a 3x9 speed here, which is pretty common back then. It wasn't until later 2000s that I started racing 2x10, and now we're moved on to 1x12, which is what pretty much everyone at this race will be running. And it will give you a similar range, a similar gear ratio spread, but with the 3x9, you get a lot of crossover, a lot of gears that are very similar. The 1x12 really simplified things, and it got rid of this pesky thing. I'm not a fan of the front derailleur. I've already dropped a chain once just riding to this position on this bike, so I don't want to be racing with one. This is a 19.5-inch frame, back in the days when we used to measure things by the inch of the seat tube, which is just totally irrelevant now. But if we look at the top tube length, this, on this large to extra large size bike, is actually the same top tube length as my Canyon Lux, which is an extra small. So yeah, I think this just goes to show how much geometry has changed, and we're only looking at one number here. That's a super slack seat angle as well. I'm not looking forward to climbing on it. Tech aside, this is a 26-inch wheeled hardtail, and I feel like this is where most of my worries lie, because I've gotten used to the rolling momentum of a 29er, and I've gotten used to being able to pedal through tech on a full sus as well. And I think that's where I'm going to get unstuck on this bike, especially on a course like this. But now it's time to race, so let's see what I can do. Head down, this is serious business, this is.
1 minute.
1 minute. Just so you know, I've christened her now, and I've affectionately named her The Excuse.
Left of the rock, Anna. Left of the rock. Yep. Nice. Up, 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 up. Woo! Looking good.
Taking people.
Anna's got a puncture. She just told me she's got a puncture.
You reckon?
not doing anything else,
Is that your old school tip, is it? Well, yeah, to be fair, I'm not doing anything else, am I? Should give it a whirl. Former Olympian Nick Craig fixing my wheel for me. How's that for service?
We'll tie the knot in it, work there.
Here it is. It'll be a snake bite lip.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, there was one small rock that looked at me funny, and that was it. I've had a nice rest now. Oh, Nick, you're a star.
Go.
Thanks.
Go.
Doing well.
Oh, gently, gently. Two punches on 2 of the laps. Can a 24-year-old bike keep up with the pack? Yes, if you don't get punches, you don't drop your chain about 3 times. Let's get a debrief. Oh, I've got racing back. Oh, that was a heck of a race. I had so much fun. So the question is, can it keep up? Yes, but there are some caveats to it. On the first lap, I just kept dropping my chain. It kept falling off the front chain rings. It was close to pulling off the back as well. Mainly it was the front though. There was an amount of finessing that you had to have with the levers, almost like friction shift. You had to get it in exactly the right place to get it into the chain you want. And of course, I just wasn't doing that in the first lap and I lost the pack. So that was a limiting factor. Grip was obviously a limiting factor. My tyres are terrible, but I can't blame 2001 for that. That's the previous owner used this for gravel. But it's a bargain for 150 quid off eBay, I think you'll agree. And the final limiting factor, the thing that ended up me being at the back of the pack, was punctures. It just, tubes just can't handle, ploughing into rough terrain. And that's why we've moved on. I think if I'd have had tubeless and I could just whip out my plug and plug it in, I would have just got back on it and not lost much time at all. So yeah, tread, tubes, and some decent gears, and I think 2001 still got it. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Are you inspired to go and ride your road retro bike at the national race? I hope so.